What is going on? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today's I'm just doing some steps right now. Today is Monday. Good question. I'm terrible at this. I should always check. Today's Monday the 4th of November. And today I'm going to do a bit of a Q&A, pop the Q&A on the Instagram last night. So I've got a few questions to answer. Also to give you a bit of an update where things are at in terms of prep, etc, etc. So we are officially 2 weeks out from flying. So this time in 2 weeks, we'll be getting ready to go to the airport to jet set off to Boston. So I just need to get on that plane, by golly gosh, get me through these next 2 weeks, which is super, super exciting. And just under 3 weeks from the final show of the season, WNBF Worlds Boston. So I'm so excited for this trip. It's going to be such a good, cap on the season. And I don't know whether it's the fact, like I kind of felt through the different shows of the season so far, if the season had have ended at any point after one of those shows, I just wouldn't have felt like I'd completed or like was satisfied with how the season went. So this is going to be a good wrap-up point for the contest prep, the season of prepping, and then the next chapter of what things are going to happen. So obviously there's going to be a hiatus from competing, regardless of what goes on outside of bodybuilding. It's not as if I was going to come and compete again in 2025, 2026. So when will the next time I compete? Not sure, but that's not something I'm trying to necessarily think about right now. But equally understanding that this season, I'm giving it my all these last couple of weeks. So it's been 3 weeks since NBA Nationals, and then therefore 3 weeks until the final show. So I'm kind of at that halfway point. And to say we're digging would be an understatement. I was actually a prep low this morning of 85.6. I was 85.7 yesterday, and that was already a 0.4 prep low. So the drop of food from Saturday of 30 carbs out has already done its thing. But anyway, that's just a slight update of where things are at. We're pushing hard. Today's a rest day, not working, so I say chill out, but it's 5:30 and I'm up doing steps. I did a similar video like this. I think I did it 4 weeks into prep, which is wild to think, given that we're 39 weeks into prep. So I'm thinking like 9 months ago, and that was a cardio chats, but that was on the bike, which is just here. But obviously no cardio. So I think the last time I did cardio, I was actually looking at the other day, was the 18th of August. It's been a hot minute since I've done cardio on the spin bike, but by golly gosh, I don't think I can get back on the bike right now. Initially when it was pulled out by AJ, he said, like, I knew it was challenging, from a routine perspective, because it's something I'd always done on like a rest day morning, let's say, to kickstart the day, but it's been very much welcomed from a energy standpoint, from a leg fatigue perspective. So I think it's a good idea from where we're at currently. But anyway, I'm rambling. I probably should get to answering some of these questions. So, one of the questions, would you ever consider stepping on the IFBB stage soon? It's a good question. So obviously I look at it in twofold here. So obviously I understand that recently they've got the IFBB Naturals, which has been released to be their Season B. So they've released dates for 2025 being the July shows. Obviously I'm not competing next year. Previously, before they'd announced anything of the IFBB Natural related, I'd always thought I'd like to step on an IFBB stage. However, it just didn't line up this year in terms of shows and when I was going to have to do one, and I didn't really want to, like, maybe I'd step on an IFBB stage as a warm-up show, but equally I wouldn't want to not bring my best knowing that I'm going up against a very good competition. So anyway, I'm not going to say no, but I would like to at one point jump on an IFBB stage, not necessarily the natural one. Equally, then now they've put that in, would that line up with other shows? I don't know. So I would like to is the answer. Okay, what else do we have here? What heart rate range do you consider for doing cardio on a bike? Yeah, good one. So typically 120 plus, 130, between 120 and 140 I aim for on the bike. And something that I do touch on as to why I tend to track calories burned as opposed to time. So I know that sometimes when you are doing cardio, you obviously then struggle to get your heart rate to a certain level. Therefore, if you're having to battle hard to get your heart rate to a level and obviously get fitter as you like get into a contest prep, you're like that same time, if you're just tracking time, that same time that you're on the bike or whatever cardio machine that you're doing isn't going to be the same as the calories burned. So your heart rate, you might struggle to get it up one day compared to another day, etc. So whether it's on an Apple Watch or something like that, something that can track your heart rate and can track your calories is a good measuring tool. Whether it's accurate or not in terms of the specific calories you've burned, probably not, but it's consistently inaccurate, if you know what I mean. So it's always going to be the same. So that's why I would opt for that as opposed to something like a just tracking time. So when I was doing my cardio, I was doing 300 calories. So that would be anywhere between 23 minutes to 28 minutes. So it can often be quite a range. There's a few questions here in terms of calories in peak week. So, and what my approach there. So we peaked 4 times. All have been linear loads. So throughout the week, we've sort of gradually raised food, and mostly from carbohydrates, fats slightly at times just to hold the look. So, sorry, I'm just kind of getting my thoughts and also catching my breath at the same time. Not that I'm walking overly quickly, but anyway, we'd gradually increase carbohydrates and some fats to make it stick. Protein towards the last day or two might have come down a little bit just to reduce on food volume. So yeah, that tended to be a good approach. The only different one was the day before NBA Nationals, which was the last show. AJ was happy with the look in terms of how we were looking, so therefore he wanted to slightly pull back on carbohydrates and then increase fats. So I think on the day before that we only did like 200 carb, but we did about 90 fat, and that was in an attempt to hold the look and not necessarily need to push too much more fullness. So whereas some of the other ones it might have been like 450 carb the day before. So it swings in roundabouts. I'll be interested to see what we do this upcoming peak week, knowing that we can just, firstly we're going to be leaner, that's for sure. We can obviously push fullness because it's our last show, because equally with some of those back-to-back peaks, we're a little bit conscious of the fact that you don't want to spill so much that you've got another peak the following week. So it was kind of no point, but you just didn't want to spill over the edge. And equally, we weren't as conditioned as we are now, so you probably couldn't push things quite as far. Hardest part of this prep in comparison to others, I think it's just the external responsibilities that come outside of this. So like obviously you've got like Olivia being pregnant is a factor. Not that it's hard. You've got work commitments, you've got all these things. And I almost think there's that added layer of, leading into this prep, what I found challenging was the added layer of pressure. And I put that term on loosely because it was probably self-inflicted pressure. You know, last time I competed, it was 2021, and that was purely just to get up on stage and bring a better package. And I truly was just to bring my best package to stage and see how we go against other people. Whereas this year, it was like, the further I got into this season, I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to be satisfied if I don't win. Which, like, obviously I was very grateful with being able to win a few pro cards and a few shows and all of that, but yeah, that was probably where the added layer of pressure came from, whether it was self-inflicted or per se, but that was my aim. And yeah, obviously I'm glad I achieved what I achieved, but yeah, if I didn't, that would have probably been a hard mental battle for me. And equally, going into this last show of the season, it's potentially going to be my worst placing. Like, that's the reality. So obviously I won NBA Vics, I won A and B Vics, I placed 4th at WNBF Australia and won NBA Nationals. So that, like, you'd have to say that's, like, I placed obviously very well. But then WNBF Worlds, like, chances are this is going to be my worst placing. Now, I don't know, given that there's people coming from all over the world, so I really don't know. But I'm so confident, and I kind of have been training myself the past few weeks, knowing this, that switch has to be flicked now to be that I am going to be satisfied with bringing my best package, and I know categorically I'm going to be bringing my best package given what the look's looking like at the minute. So something I'm not battling with, but you know, making sure in my head that I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm not going to potentially place as well as I have in some other shows. So that's probably been one of the hardest things. What's one area of your physique that you feel you improved? My legs, specifically my quads from the front, have definitely improved. I think my delts have actually improved, all those side laterals, the top up delt work, and I think my back's improved. I probably lost a bit of my back towards the end of my 2021 prep. Feel like I've kept it quite well, and able to show the gains that we've made, all those deads, all those block SLDLs. And I think my glutes have actually grown. So whilst my glutes got lean last season, they weren't overly big, whereas now they are quite big and in decent shape. So those split squats, the glute drive, they've definitely contributed, and all the different leg movements that we've been doing. What else? I've got a few pages of questions that I've screenshotted here. Any cravings? So it's one of those ones at the minute. I think I would say it's the least food focused I've been in a contest prep compared to 2021, 2019. And whether it's down to, I think there's an element of the fact that I've got a coach this time, and equally after each of the 4 shows, there's never been a consideration to whether there's been an off-plan meal or anything. It's been back on plan as soon as you step off stage. Like, I'm stepping off stage and eating egg whites or chicken and zucchini. Like, there's no cheat meals, there's nothing even on the day or the morning after, there's nothing. So knowing that that's a strict cut-off and whatnot has been helpful. my cravings is equally just, I want more of what I'm eating right now. Like, give me just some more chicken and rice. Let me add some pineapple to it. Give me a bigger bowl of oats, some more cream of rice. Like, give me some like poached eggs on toast, something along those lines, as opposed to, you know, those bingy, I don't know, burgers, pizzas, etc. Ordinarily, I would say I'm in the market for a nice steak, some good sushi, sashimi. That would go down a treat. But with all that in mind, we're obviously going to the US. We're going to New York after the show. I'm gonna be eating lots of food. That's a reality. I'm not too fussed about that. I'll make that work. I'd ordinarily recommend that people don't have those sort of extravagant foods like your burgers, your pizzas and stuff for a good couple of weeks post-show until your sort of body reaches a good point. But equally, it's not like I'm going to say no to a New York slice of pizza, am I? Which, for those watching, stay tuned for the food videos, the food porn videos come New York, obviously within reason. So it's going to be a matter of, you know, we might have 3-4 standard meals in a day and then have just a meal out the afternoon, evening, in some description, or just have a few little snacks. And more or less, it's just I can eyeball things. You know, we went to the US 2 years ago. I kind of held my body weight, held my body composition for 4 or 5 weeks whilst eating, I say quote unquote flexibly, but you end up macro filling things 80-90% clean and then 10-20% just a bit looser. So I have no doubt I can handle it. Is it probably the most optimal thing post-comp? Probably not. But we've been dieting 42 weeks, but it'll be 42 weeks by that point, given that we started prep on, what was it, February the 5th, and I have not eaten off plan since then. So I think it's well deserved. Another question is favorite piece of equipment per body part. So I feel like I need to split this up, and I feel like I've given this a lot of thought in the past. So I've put it in the perspective of, if I was to create my own gym, what gym equipment would I want? Now, I'm going to put things like dumbbells, barbells and a Smith machine and cables to the side and say that they're just a given. Let's go through the different body parts, because I love thinking about this. And if I was to open a gym, or even just like a garage gym, these are the kind of pieces I would like. So we'll start with back. So I feel like you'd want some form of row, and I think the prime seated row is probably my favorite. So that would definitely go in there. The Nautilus pull down as the pull down variation would be my favorite in that respect. And that's probably all I reckon you'd need, because then you can obviously got barbells, dumbbells, cables to do the rest. So I think you could get away with just that. From a chest perspective, it would definitely be the Nautilus vertical press. Love that. And then obviously you got dumbbells for other presses, and then a fly. I reckon that's all you would need. To be honest, probably even like the New Tech fly or the Prime pin-loaded fly is a very good one. So I'm probably not as picky with those. Either one of those would do the trick. And then shoulders, again, probably less picky on that. Like the New Tech shoulder press is obviously very good, but equally you've got Smith machine, you've got dumbbells, so not too fast from a lateral raise perspective. Like, it would be nice to have a lateral, whether it's a hammer strength pin loaded or plate loaded one, but you know, you've got cables for cuff laterals, you've got dumbbells for laterals, so probably less pressing on that. And then before we touch on legs, we'll look at arms. I mean, you've got dumbbells, you've got cables, preacher benches, so I don't think you need a hell of a lot there. So if I look at all of that, like there's not actually that much kit that you would need for, let's say, upper body wise, that you couldn't otherwise do with dumbbells, barbells, etc. Anyway, onto legs. I feel like you'd need a few bits here, purely because you can't do all of this with a barbells and free weights, etc. So I would definitely want a hack squat. Yes, you can squat and Smith machine squat, but I think something that you can safely load up your quads is a good idea. So a Cybex hack would be one of my favorites. Secondly, I'd want a leg press, whether it was, so there's a few options here. A Cybex squat press, hammer strength hip press, or the Rogers hip press. Probably go the Rogers hip press over the hammer strength hip press, to be honest. So I'd probably go those two as a, you know, compound leg movements. I'd want a hamstring curl, whether it was seated or lying. From a seated ham curl, probably the prime seated ham curl, or just the hammer strength seated ham curl. They're both quite good. Whether it was a seated or a lying, not sure. And then the leg extension, I reckon the plate loaded prime one is probably my favorite, or equally just a hammer strength pin loaded one will do the trick. And then an adductor. I almost think the New Tech adductor would be my favorite. I just get DOMs so bad, and I'm walking now knowing that I trained legs yesterday and can feel it. So that's probably one of my favorites, or equally the prime adductor. And then some form of calf raise. So just a seated calf raise would do the trick. So I've kind of listed off all those things there as being my sort of favorite bits of kit. Mixture of Nautilus, Cybex, Prime, and some hammer strength and some decent bits of kit there. So yeah, all the bits and bobs. So there's a few more questions on favorite pose, goals for the shows, which I think I've already touched on. How are you feeling physically and mentally before the show? Probably touched on that a fair bit. But yeah, I think that's probably all that I'm going to touch on. I think I fucking one take. This is one take, one took. It's a one take shot. It's gone 20 plus minutes. So that's gonna round this out. This is just gonna be a bit of a catch up cardio / steps chat. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been a nice little catch up situation and just talk and get me through 20 plus minutes of steps. So I've done more than 2Ks, which is lovely. The sun is rising. It's a Monday. I'm watching some NFL Mondays, so all things to come. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to NFL. So what's today? Say the 4th. In 4 weeks, we'll be going to the football in New York, see the Jets, which is pretty freaking cool, at MetLife Stadium. So fingers crossed it's not too cold there because the stadium is open aired, but we'll cross that bridge. Anyway, that's going to round out the video. If you like, please like the video. Please subscribe. Stay up to date with all the latest YouTube content. And let me know in the comments, what else would you like to see? I'm all ears, particularly in the lead up to Boston. And it's going to be peak week vlogs in America. Fuck, I'm excited for that. And then the travel vlogs, the food vlogs. So much to come, and then we roll straight into the off season. So, that being said, catch you in the next one.